it's awesome.
Alrighty, hello. How's everybody doing out there? Today we're gonna go ahead and swap out the inlet on the Manguson Supercharger. If you saw the last video where I tried to do some floating gear shift silliness, you saw that the throttle body, actually a throttle bodies, actually fail-safe in that video. It threw a P2112 code, which is basically the throttle bodies aren't happy. So what I'm gonna do, well, I have a couple of theories. This car currently is experiencing some cam reversion issues, or it loses cam phasing totally in the middle of a pull. Remember, Gen 2 intake cam, Gen 2 phaser, Gen 1 exhaust cam, Gen 1 phaser on both banks. I do not recommend that setup, and I highly doubt we would support that remotely. But because it was already on the car, I thought I'd roll with it. I think there's some kind of issue going on with the wiring, to be honest with you, because we are using a custom harness to piggyback off of, the main harness, and basically splits the signal to provide power to both throttle bodies, which was a pain in the butt to even get it to idle. We're about 10 tunes in. I personally adjusted probably 6 or 7 tunes back and forth with different throttle data, different tipping data, different idle air stuff, just to get it to idle good. And it idles pretty damn good, but because it fail-safed on me, I'm not going to play any games. Stock throttle bodies should not be fail-safing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and swap out the inlet. And Manguson was nice enough to send me a different inlet. So Todd said, hey, we have a different inlet for this thing, and it does take a different pulley configuration, but I still have to buy this spacer because the spacing is not proper on this setup so that the belt alignment fits well. So what you're going to have to do is more than likely find out which spacer is the proper spacer, because I think there are 2 of them. So once you figure out which spacer it is, go ahead and get it going. But I'm going to take all this apart, see how hard it is to take out the inlet, because it seems to be just 4 bolts. So hopefully I can get to them pretty easily. And if you flip it around, that's interesting. I don't think it has that on this side. It has the jack shaft and coupler for that shaft, and get the flashlight going. There we go. So let's get that sucker installed. Kind of sucks to see this go, because this was kind of a cool part that Jake made with the transition piece. I thought it was interesting, this little part here. But in the future, people will see. It'll be on the channel because it's already been documented. We document what we do here, so in the future, if somebody wants to be inspired or whatever, it'll be there for them to watch if they ever want to mess around and try some new shit. I was hoping not to have to take the lid off, but it looks like definitely gonna have to take the lid off to get to those back 2 bolts. Oh yeah, they're tucked away, so I can't get to it at all. So lid coming off. Some flashlight, there we go. So we'll see what's going on here. Nothing weird, nothing crazy. There's your IAT sensor. Ooh, that IAT video was very interesting. So everything's cool. No bolts got sucked down into the bitch. Rotors are looking weird. Rotors are not rubbing. Crazy. All right, there you go. Those are the bolts. Got to get to the bottom bolts too, and we'll get these inlets swapped out. All right, let's see. Let's see if I've taken out enough stuff to get this guy to come off. Whoa, sucker's in there. What is there, like indexing dowels on this thing? Yeah, there's dowels. All right, put some screwdriver action back there and take it off. Yeah, that was not fun. The blower had to come off. I mean, well, at least all the bolts from the blower had to come off and angle it up so that it clearances this thing. This thing was rubbing like a MF here, and my goodness, remind myself for next time. Well, next time, there better be no next time. And I'm kind of like second guessing ever putting that bolt back in But now that I have access to it, maybe it'll be fine. Oh my goodness, what a pain in the ass. Okay, let's put, where the hell is it? Let's put this inlet on and I'll show you the finished product. There it is. And the nice thing is this is basically a aftermarket part that you can buy for this vehicle. This will get rerouted. So basically the cold air, the throttle body, I think a Kenny Bell 168 is going to fit on it. And I just so happen to have a Kenny Bell 168 in Collier. So I'll be trying it on, but there you go. I'm just going to basically, actually, you know what? Let me give you a finished product. Let me give you the long dick on this video. Hey guys, I'm actually in the middle of doing something here and I thought I'd make a video to kind of, I don't know, give you an idea of the thought process as to why some of these throttle bodies fail safe and why others work fine. So this is a twin bore throttle body that was made by an aftermarket manufacturer a while ago, and it didn't do so well. It kind of like went out there. I'm not going to name names. I'll try to keep everything anonymous, but you might be able to tell. So this throttle body is basically a bigger version of a twin bore stock throttle body from a 07 to 14 GT500. Let me shut off the fan so there's no background noise. And when you work with a lot of metals in different industries, you come to find out that certain metals expand faster than others. So these throttle bodies come with a brass blade. Okay, there's a shaft. Actually, the shaft is on the ground over there. It goes through there, held by 2 screws with a little bit of Loctite. As you can tell, someone had some Loctite in there. So what would happen sometimes is the rate of growth of the brass would be faster than this material, which looks to be aluminum. And what would happen is sometimes, not all, and not in this case specifically, but I'm just kind of spitballing, the blades, depending on how fast they grow, can actually rub inside the bore. Matter of fact, look at how, yeah, I mean, this is already extremely tight. So imagine you have a perfectly, pivoting situation here. And then let's say these guys grow a little bit, and what you'll see in some of these applications is, a little bit of material wear here. So you would see certain areas here where it would be a little shiny. So you would, see that it's hitting on the bore sometimes. This one I don't think was in service long, so I don't think it got a chance to have issues. But aside from that, like a lot of people that tune twin bore throttle bodies, they overthink it. Not to say that I'm an expert, but based on my experience, they overthink it. But one of the, when you look at how it's built, actually it looks like a cam journal like situation. Why isn't the lighting helping me here? There we go. Like the bores have to be dead nuts, like the shaft has to be super straight. And then, what happens is this is under the hood and it gets really, really hot. And, the shaft can bind, a whole bunch of stuff can happen. But when you have the bigger monoblade throttle bodies, they have another issue. This. So, in my opinion, these big throttle bodies should not have brass blades for obvious reasons. For the reasons I stated, why this might be an issue inside the bore, this might be an issue once it gets hot. You can cause the gears to bind. Like imagine this is under the hood and this gets hotter faster than this gets. Now, I'm not saying it's exactly what's happening, but it sure as hell doesn't help. So there's a reason I think that a Ford Twin 60 comes with plastic stuff. Like this guy is not gonna grow at an insane rate where it will cause potential binding issues on these throttle bodies. Now this is a Kenny Bell 168. This is a defunct, old school, never really worked 173. I was thinking about installing this for a second, and then I said, you know what? I remember when this was introduced and it was a nightmare, but I personally have a Kenny Bell 168 and have had Kenny Bell 168s in many cars. Case in point, Collier has a Kenny Bell 168, but this guy has plastic gears. It was upgraded to plastic gears. So what I'm gonna do is replace the brass gears on the Kenny Bell 168 with plastic ones, and we'll see if after tuning and install it goes well. But it is kind of a nice thing that, I was taking it apart. It is Thanksgiving, so I came out here to work on the car, and because I'm in the middle of upgrading the inlet on the GT500, and I wanted to show you this because not a lot of people show you this, because I don't think a lot of people understand it. And if they tell you they understand it, they're liars, because I don't know a lot of aftermarket tuners that will go out of their way to understand why a mechanism could fail on a certain application and what the proper fix could be, and I'm going to try it. So you guys could say I don't know what I'm talking about and this and that, but at the end of the day, in terms of mechanical ability and know-how, based on all the Kenny Bell 168s that I've had plastic gears, they don't fail safe. Anything that has brass gears tends to fail safe. So let me go ahead and see if I can get these swapped out. I'm not going to go through the step-by-step process. I'm just going to do it and see how it goes. All right, I'm trying to take this guy with one hand, but it's not. Oh, whoa, it's being my friend. So this kind of blows my mind, right? I didn't know I had multiple bolt patterns, and I think I know why. It kind of answered my question. So front, top, front, bottom, and the reason I'm doing this because this shaft has to come out in order to take that gear out, because it looks like it's a shoulder there, so I think it's pressed in pretty good. So, and this is why I was thinking that. I was like, how am I going to take this guy out without fucking it up? And then I looked at the bolt pattern on this shaft, and it's different than the bolt pattern on the Kenny Bell. I'm hoping I'm right that this guy, yes sir. Okay, so I have to finagle this guy out. Again, needing two hands for the job. God dang it. Well, if anything, it tells you a little bit about the build quality on Kenny Bell versus the other manufacturer. Oh man, I gotta tap to zoom, Alex. Dang it. Dang it. Okay, let's do this again. So this guy has like an O-ring. What the fuck? There, Jesus Christ. Fuck me. So, has an O-ring, and you fucking piece, there you go, you thing. Alex, you should swear less in the videos. Why is your kid watching my channel, weirdo? And this is the other. Oh, look at that. There's a shim. So, geez, I got to be careful. There's shims and stuff everywhere, so I got to figure out where that guy went. But you can see that this shaft has O-rings, so it probably has a little bit better build material or build quality than the other shaft. But I still have to figure out how to get this guy off. So let's see how I can do that. Where the shims went, right in there. Look at that. That little tiny shim goes in the shaft. So this guy didn't seem to have one. It seems like the two center. Actually, no, it looks like they all have little shims, so I gotta find them. Looking at this guy, looks like there were only three shims in there, so I was looking for a fourth, but based on this imprint, looks like there were only three. Well, that was easy. I just used it as a press, basically did that, bopped it, and it came right out. So why can't the plastic come out that easy? Apparently I had to hit it with my purse, and it came right out once I hit it with my lady purse. I just had to hit it. All right, let's see if I can get it transferred onto this guy. No wonder it didn't want to come out. It has a pretty badass knurling on the shaft. So, and the problem is going to be that this guy is a smaller diameter than this guy, so I'm a little leery about modifying it, but you know what? Worth a shot, because what's the alternative? Buy another gear, do it again. I think you could sell these gears, or it's an Edelbrock gear. See, got a 3 or Edelbrock. I think it's an Edelbrock gear, but we'll see what modifications I make off camera to see if I can get it secure on a smooth shaft. It's on, so yeah, I probably wouldn't recommend what I did off camera, but because it has to be retained somewhat, so I had to kind of have a decent press fit on there. So as you can see, it's a pretty good press fit. I was considering some kind of Loctite or something, some kind of adhesive, but I think the press fit is pretty damn good. And I'm kind of surprised about this material, how tough it is, because I've been beating on this stuff and it's pretty damn good. And I had to index the 12 o'clock to make sure how it went on. So let's see if I completely fudged this up, install it, and see how it goes. Okay, get it started. All right, so you might be wondering why there's grease in there. Honestly, I like anytime there's gears meshing, I like it to be greasy. Not a lot, I mean, it's a lot, but you know what? Oh yeah, look at that film, baby. So I want it to be as smooth. Some people might be laughing their ass off at this, but you know what? I'm purely going off of my millwright experience, and gears are usually lubricated, even if plastic. So as long as it's not hurting anything, why not, right? But you guys might think it's retarded, but have you done this? Have you messed with any stuff like this before? Do you have experience with stuff like this before? No? Shut the fuck up. Oh, we'll see if I fucked this up or not. everything went together pretty good. The spring has some tension on it. Everything's good. It feels just like a Kenny Bell 168 would with plastic gears. I had another Kenny Bell in this car when it had the Whipple 4.5 on it, so technically I could use that tune, throttle body area, plop it onto this guy, and it's the same old shit. So see how it goes. All right, let's see if the throttle decides to work. Alrighty, still got a squeaky bearing on the supercharger belt drive, but for now I kind of got a hodgepodge setup in there. Alrighty, there you go. This is temporary for now. Jake came over yesterday and laid out some parts. We're gonna 3D print so that we get the proper angle on this cold air. Then I'll get a shield on there. But the Kenny Bell 168, after rebuilding it with plastic gears, seems to be doing good. I hear some stuff going on, so I'm gonna make sure all the bolts are tight on the supercharger drive because it now has a spacer to allow the 6-bolt situation. I'm gonna zip tie this out of the way so it's not hitting, and I'm gonna make sure there are no leaks. But hopefully we can get some 60 to 130 times with the Kenny Bell 168 and drivability videos. But there you have it, a little bit of inside baseball as to the gear upgrade from brass to plastic on a Kenny Bell 168. So there you go. Basically, all I showed was just replacing the brass gears with plastic gears. Once Jake gets that model elbow 3D printed and we'll get an actual filter on this thing, then I can start data logging instead of, you know, trying to chase my tail with basically turbulent airflow with no filter on the end of the cold air. All right, guys, there you go. That'll be it. Hopefully you guys learned a little bit today as to what some of the tips and tricks of making a big oval throttle body work. I don't think we're gonna like support a lot of these combos, to be honest with you. I think this is because I have control of the tuning on the car. I can try some things and go from there. Typically these blowers get like a Twin 65 or another version matching the year, but the Kenny Bell 168 is a little special, so it requires some tips and tricks to make it to work. Well, there you go. A little bit of the behind the scenes, what needs to happen to certain things in order for them to fit. Custom spacers, flip the throttle body, plastic gears, and a cold air that doesn't fit. So we'll get everything situated once the 3D printing process is done. Thanks for listening, guys. Talk to you later.